So basically, a lot of terms have been associated with the South, not very many at all with the East, almost none with the North. And so Metcalf observed this too in his 1997 article about the labels South and South Midland being used quite often in the Dictionary of American Regional English, but not other labels not being used as much. That's pretty much what I'm finding here. Also, the large amount of literature on the salience of the South, as mentioned by Preston and other people, seems to be supported here, where people are noticing certain terms from the South but not elsewhere. And so the results of the study suggest that the lexicon as well as the culture of the South is salient to Colorado informants, while the lexicon of other regions of the United States is less marked to them. There's some qualitative evidence suggesting, too, that Colorado informants align themselves more with the northern United States. That would account for the not having any terms from the North really be salient to them. One informant talks about the North, and she says the South is quite a difference. So there's a lot of difference between the Northern and the South, and just little things. And the way she says it, the context of it, suggests that she's really considering the South a one part, and that the North is something that Colorado is part of, which is something that some of the dialectology literature suggests as well. There's also a sense with some of these words, even though that these people seem to be pretty accurate with the literature of dialectology, that when people are unfamiliar with terms, they'll just say, oh, that's from the South. So the word Sugan, for instance, is the best example, where Pedersen says that it's basically from Texas to the Dakotas. And the people up in northern Colorado weren't aware of it, and they just said, I think we talked about it for a little while, and then finally they said, oh, I bet it came from the South. So next I'd like to put together a questionnaire to deal with this. There are a couple of big questions I have. These are obviously just the words that came up in conversation. I'd like to see what the accuracy of people would be if you really pressed them for these types of words and add to it, and see what they said about the words and see if they still were pretty accurate. And the other thing is to get an idea of exactly what they mean by the South. So there were some states mentioned, but there was also an observation or two about something coming from the South, and there was no real confirmation of what that meant. So it could have meant Mexico for all I know. But there is lots of stuff in there about the South, and we'll see what with some more study. And I think that's it.
Are there questions? Yes.
No, I'm loud as hell.
Okay.
We know from old Colorado word geography and stuff that you've done and others that there's a lot of Southern input into Colorado speech, South Midlands in particular, but even Southern. Was there any awareness of that? Did anybody say not just the South, but this is what Grandpappy would say or something like that, or was there just no Colorado sense of the fact that this was the homeland for many of them?
Nope. There would be the mention of, yes, this is an old-fashioned term, or that's the way people talk around here, kind of like the South. But no informants mentioned an affiliation with the South at all. I would just mention how different it was. There were people who I talked to in getting informants who would say, "Oh yeah, you got to hear these people talk over here, a bunch of hillbillies. You got to talk to them." But when you actually talk to the informants, there wasn't. Even I have an informant down in Springfield, which is really close to Oklahoma. He exhibits a lot of Southern features, and there isn't really any mention to him that they were, they came out of that area. Even though if you look at the history of Colorado, there's a fair amount of input all the way from the gold rush days, where the first few real big gold miners were right on Georgia. But no mention of I think one from Texas, they mentioned Texas.
other questions? I have one. What is that word that you said that they said that was Southern that I've never heard of? What's
Let
it
me
mean?
go through the list.
Yes.
That's like a blanket that goes up horses or.
When next time you go back, tell those people that Southerners don't know that term.
They were the only person who said it.
Yeah.
But that was really one where I got the idea that faced with some words, and it wasn't the only one. There were other ones where I got that feeling that if they really heard words that they didn't know, they would be like, no, I think that's Southern.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Yes.
Do you want the microphone? I think I'm okay. I'm just listening to you and thinking about Dennis's presentation and some of the other things that the salience of the South in the minds of Americans. And I think it's more than just the worst place. It has something to do with the strength of regional identification in this area, and it's more than just having businesses with the name Dixie or Southern in them. It's look at all the colleges that have courses in Southern literature. Look at this conference that we're having here and how many other regions have conferences like this. So there's some, perhaps there's some truth as in all stereotypes that people are more regionally identified here for some reason or another.
Yeah, that's one thing. With the North, I mean, I think I need to go back and talk to some of these people who, like, you know, after making the observation, no northern things were really talked about at all. That's kind of interesting that they didn't associate